Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Natsu Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Watari-kun's is About to Collapse, Season 1, Episode 10. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, it's the next day, we're picking up in the aftermath of everything, and Yukari decided to go home early, and Naoto, especially after talking to Satsuki, like walking her to like the train station or whatever, just walking her home, there's a conversation of like, did, Yukari say anything? She's like, no, what would she have said? It's like, well, nothing. It's like, oh, is it because of what happened or lack of what happened? He's like, you knew? She's like, I was literally in the next room, dude. Of course I would know. And it's like, she's like, I understand where you're coming from and that you were just trying to do the right thing. But I would also say your communication skills suck, dude. And you're not good at conveying things. And it's like, because it's like, yeah, you got to be more mindful and careful because some of the stuff you say could make her cry. And even he's like, wait, was she crying? And then she was like, I don't know. It's like, she definitely knows, but she wasn't saying anything because she doesn't want to make Naoto feel like worse about it. And he tries to contact Yukari, but she's not responding because, and it's a complicated thing because, and I said it last episode, I think Naoto did do the right thing because Yukari was rushing into it, and once again, it's a byproduct of her own insecurities why she was rushing into it. So it's a situation of because I think that Satsuki was making fun of him, but like, oh, it's a good thing you did that because you didn't have proper protection. Because well, we know she bought condoms, but they're at the house, and he also doesn't know that she bought condoms. But regardless, but we're dealing with two characters who suffer from like a lot of the similarities of they're both very insecure and they're not very good at conveying how they're feeling. Obviously, that's still a very relatively new thing for Yukari to be a little more open about her feelings, but also she's not open about her insecurities either, and neither is Naoto. And he's just thought like, oh, I'm doing the right thing, but he never thought like, oh, like, it's not always the easiest thing. Like when you were figuring stuff out and Yukari's figuring stuff out and you're both insecure, it's not always the easiest thing to be in the other person's shoes and realize like how you're coming out because you're so like frantic and messed up, so caught up about like what you're feeling and what you're thinking. So sometimes you don't even think like how you might be coming off to somebody because in his mind, it's like, I did the right thing, but at never point did he ever think like Yukari would internalize that as like, oh, like he's going to view me a negative way. In fact, it's like, yo, what if he like wants to talk? Like, what if he wants to break up with me? Like, what if he views me as like, oh, I'm moving too fast and I'm acting a little too like, not saying this is what she's saying, but like, she might view herself as like, oh, I'm being too like aggressive, and he might see me as like a quote unquote loose woman. I don't want to use that terminology, but that's the only thing I can like say to kind of convey what I'm trying to convey about what she thinks he's feeling about her. And she's stressing about it, and worried about it, and because she doesn't know how to approach the situation. So she ends up talking with Toki. It doesn't get too much into details, but he pretty much figures it out. And it's like, he's like, whatever you're dealing with, talk with like Naoto about it. Cause he's like, I know Naoto enough to know like he would never like let something like that be the reason why you break up. So it's like, talk to him about it. And she's just like, yeah, I know, but it's just like she's got these insecurities piling up. But it's like, yeah, just talk to him and you both can find a way forward. Cause like I know like it's like you have to trust him, and that's something she's having a hard time doing. I think the Fujioka of it all, like I think that dude kind of screwed with her trust a little bit, and maybe there's other contributing factors, but I think she's just once again a very naturally insecure person. And even Toki's like, oh man, she's insecure too. He's like, man, things are not easy for Naoto. I mean, ultimately, I think that stems from all the girls in his life. I think Satsuki, Yukari, and even Makina, I think they all suffer from like some version of insecurities for whatever reason. Because like even Satsuki is like, she's so scared to ever lose Naoto in her life, she's willing to accept things as they are. Because she'd even said like, Yukari's like, I've got to make my move. Like, I don't want us just to be in this trial basis anymore. I want us to actually date. Because even Toki was like, yeah, just because you're like, oh, you're practically dating, so just like trust him. But she's like, I need to make a move before Tachibana. That was like also like before Satsuki makes a move, but that's also why she really rushed the whole trying to sleep with him last episode, was because she's like, I need to strike while the iron is hot. I need to strike before Satsuki gets comfortable enough and confident enough and comes to terms with her own feelings for him, instead of just like burying them and trying to pretend like they don't exist. I need to strike before she realizes how she feels about him, because she's so worried because of their history that it'll be so easy for her to take Naoto, and he'll fall for her more than he will her. I mean, he'll fall more for Satsuki more than Yukari. Sorry, I phrased that weird. Sorry. But like I said, Satsuki's so desperate to stay in his life and stay near him that she's willing to accept whatever relationship they have. And Makina is so desperate of like, I'm trying to like get in the middle of everything you got going on because I want you to look at me. I want you to notice me. But she has her own insecurities, which we'll talk about later on. And the sad thing throughout the episode is just this massive amounts of miscommunications. It doesn't help that Makina is making her own moves, and that just kind of literally comes into conflict with everything Naoto's trying to do with Yukari, because Naoto is completely oblivious. Because once again, he feels the way he felt about Yukari. At no point in time did he ever think, oh, Yukari feels the same way about me. He doesn't think Satsuki feels that way about it. Even though like Toki can tell, Yukari can tell. But it's everyone else around him. Once again, typical shonen protagonist thing of like you're completely unaware of like how people feel about you, how people view you and see you. Once again, I've always talked about like I've been very upfront about like that's always been my issue. I'm not the very good at like I have a hard time believing anyone would like me and have feelings for me. I've had that issue in relationships in the past just because I am a very insecure person. I have a lot of there's a lot of self-esteem issues that I have, and that's why I'm like Naoto like can never view himself in a positive light, because for him it's like I can't even fathom that anyone would feel that way about me. So he feels that way about like Yukari, but he would never think like Yukari feels that exact way about me, so. But yeah, like cause at work, Makina being like, oh yeah, you're lucky to have that girlfriend of yours because she's way out your really, and he snaps at her. He's like, I get it. Yes, I already know that, because it's already just adding more to his frustration and insecurities, because he feels like, oh, we're kind of falling apart, and he's so scared and worried about that. He's like, I know she's too good for me. I know I'm not good enough for her. Like, how about you just mind your own business? And she was just trying to joke, like, but it's also like that was like her picking at it too, because she's just trying to have conversation, but also like that was her own insecurities coming out in that moment, because obviously that's reflected with like her bust size. She feels like she's because she in her mind is like, oh my god, Naoto like big boobed girls, and she has smaller boobs in comparison to Satsuki and Yukari. She already felt one way with Yukari, but now with Satsuki, but then seeing Yukari who's got even bigger boobs, it's like it adds even more to that insecurity for her. But their boss offered him like a free movie ticket. Basically, they can bring one extra person with him, and he's like, okay, do you want to go with me? Because she was originally going to have her ticket turned in, but it's like, she's like, it's only like a date. But then later on, he's like, what are you talking about, date? He's like, I'm basically babysitting 3 kids. Because he, once again, does not view Makina in that way. Even though, like, there's only, like, a year difference between them, because she's a first year and he's, like, a second year, but he still views her as a kid. He views her as that little sister character, so. I love that during the movie, he's passed out sleep because of the movie while everyone else is like awake. He's falling asleep on Makina. But at the same time, Yukari is trying to contact him, but isn't able to get through. And she's calling more and more because she's getting desperate. She's like, oh, he wanted to talk to me, but now he doesn't want to. And now she's like, oh, maybe he really is fed up with me. Maybe he changed his mind because I took so long to contact him. But it's only because his phone was on silent. He didn't realize anyone tried to contact him. Then the next day, like, he contacts her like, hey, yo, like, I'm sorry about that. Like, she's like, oh, we can meet up after, like, my cram school or whatever. Or cram practice, like, whatever she was, like, going to. And Makina's like, oh, what's that on your phone? Like, oh, look at all those calls. Oh, she must be pretty. Like, is she very clingy, keeping you on a short leash? She's like, whatever, it's not your business. But she's actually doing the old job that Satsuki has, which even he's like, wait, did those outfits fit a little differently? He thinks about how it fitted on Satsuki, but it's like, well, Satsuki's a little more bustier than Makina. And so she was kind of like, oh, like, how does it look on my figure? And he goes back to talking to his boss. And she's like, stop completely ignoring me. But he's supposed to be meeting up later on with Yukari, and it's like, right, there's about 2 hours before we have to meet up, and they ended up running into each other as Makina's following him. But then, like, she's like, oh, I just wanted to see you, because she started getting insecure because he's like, oh, I went to the movies, and she's like, what, the movies? Oh, she's like, and the first person that immediately came to mind is, oh my god, did he go to the movies with Satsuki? Not Makina's not even on the, because she already like wiped that insecurity out of her head, because she's like, oh, he only views her as a little sister. It's like, okay, good. Because I think it's also like, she recognizes how he is with Suzu, and it's like, oh, if you view her the same way, I don't have to worry about that. You don't have the whole sister con thing that people were kind of levying against you in the first episode. But so like, that's one less person, but she still is very insecure when it comes to, like I said, the history. And once again, him and Satsuki have kissed, or rather she kissed him. That's a whole thing. Also, don't let her know about the whole her grinding on you thing after the massage. And she was saying like, oh, it's fine, it's a joke or whatever. It's like, definitely don't want to let Yukari ever know about that, because that is just going to stress her out more. But for her, it's like she got a little scared and was like, oh, I need to check on you. But it's like, I'm letting you know, Naoto, I trust you. And Makina uses his opportunity. It's like, well, since you guys are going to meet up later, do you mind if I hang out with him in that time? It's like, I got some stuff on my mind I want his help with. And Yukari's like, I trust you. So yes, if he's okay with it, sure. And so they go shopping. He's the pack mule. And she even gets to the point where she like starts going to like this lingerie store and picks out a very like risque thing. And he doesn't even think about it fitting on her. He's like, but God, what if it fit on someone like Yukari? That starts down that thought process. But Makina uses its opportunity to do she feigns that whole thing of, well, I'm into someone, but I only recently discovered how I felt about him, and I'm not sure how to go about it. And he's basically like wishing her luck. He's like, oh, I get it. Like the whole like struggling to tell someone how you feel, but I'm wishing you luck. And for her, it's frustrating because it's like, I'm talking about you idiot. Like, you giving me good luck to hook up, to get with someone fictitious, when that fictitious person is actually you. It pisses her off more. They actually go sit down and eat, end up going to the place where Satsuki works, which she kind of knows Makina's game, so she's like feeling up on like Naoto, being like, oh, I've got some stuff on my mind too, but she's like, oh, I'm just kidding. But it's like, she knows it's specifically the screw with Naoto because she likes that, and I think for her, like I said, it's to keep him close, and it makes her feel like we're still maintaining some relationship, even if you're like disliking it and chastising me for like my jokes. That's our shtick. But then like, it rubs like Makina the wrong way, so she's just like, right, you only see me as like your Kohai A, like I'm just like the side little sister in your story. And then she tried the whole sitting in his lap thing, which I was like, oh boy, this is going to go so wrong, isn't it? Because we see that Yukari's trying to rush over. I was like, please don't let this like turn super sideways. But she's like, nah, I'll give you permission to squeeze my boobs, because it's kind of like, well, that's the only way they're going to get better. She's like, I'm not doing it for like me or anything like that. In fact, I'm doing it for you because you need to be more comfortable to do this for your actual girlfriend, right? And so he ends up talking to her about like, right, I get it, like, I am not very good at conveying how I really feel to Yukari. Like, I'm so scared that I want to be the perfect guy in her eyes, the perfect guy who deserves to be with someone amazing like her. And I'm so scared that like if I do touch her like that, I might make this all crumble. So it's not the easiest thing to like convey my feelings for her. But I want to, and that's why he wanted to talk face to face, because what Satsuki said to him in the beginning of the episode of his communication skill, he's like, if I say it over text, there could be things can get misconstrued. I want to say it face to face because she deserves that, and also I can probably say it and there will be no misunderstanding if I get my words right. And Yukari listened to all of this, and so basically he talks about how much he loves Yukari, how much he's in love with her, and he's wishing Makina best of luck with, finding someone like that. And she's like, well, you know what? I got a date with a guy tomorrow, so, and leaves, completely forgetting all the bags. But Yukari heard all that and it's like, oh, like, could you tell me that last part again? The whole thing about loving me. And they walk home together, like walking hand in hand, and they kind of convey a lot of stuff about, she lets him know about her insecurities, but she's feeling better now after everything, especially talking it out. But also interesting conversation about like, right, she's going to cram school because her parents told her to check it out. She's in her second year. Like next year, she's going to have to be starting doing entrance exams for college. And it's like, because she's, bringing up the whole like, oh, if I get married, traditionally, like, it's become a more common thing. Well, not traditionally, but more common thing for both like husband and wives to like both be working jobs at the same time. And she's given a lot of thought to her future, which even Naoto had talked about it with Toki a couple episodes back about his plans for the future. It was like, because for him, he can't like really go off to college because he needs to be there for Suzu, but he also wants to get a job, and so he can have money and save up and kind of treat Yukari like, the queen she deserved to be treated as, right? But for him, it's like, yeah, like, what do I want to do with my future? And it's like, it is something I need to think about. Because he's like, yeah, that was his thought, was like, it never even crossed his mind to even think about college, because there's like other things that I should be worrying about. But those were in his forefront of his mind. But it's like, got to put that on the back burner for right now. I need to drop off these clothes to Machina. And this in section of the episode gives us a really interesting insight to Machina, because we find out that basically if she skips this upcoming camp that's happening, it's like, yeah, like the coach is going to kick you off the team. And like, obviously the only reason why she's at that school is because of like the scholarship she kind of got there, and she's there for the track team thing. So it's like, that being at that school is only for that reason. If I'm not there for that, like, she's like, I mean, that means I'd have to quit that school, and that means I wouldn't be able to see Watari anymore. Because we don't know, like, whether the school that Watari, Naoto, Naoto, like, they're separate people, sorry. Naoto, Satsuki, Yukari, and Toki, like, I don't know if their schools are a very prestigious school. Because my immediate thought was, well, if you had to transfer schools, you probably would go to a unisex school, like, so not unisex isn't the right word, co-ed school like that. But like, the fact is that never crossed her mind. I mean, there'll probably be issues with her parents, because they probably don't know like how much of an issue it is for her. But she really talks about like what's rubbing her the wrong way. Because for her, she talks about the fact is, because for her, she's looking at the Naoto thing of, I can never be his number one. I already know. So, like, why am I even stressing about not being able to see him anymore? I already know who's number one in his heart, and it can never be me. And for her, she says the line of not being able to be number one causes her to be, she'll lose confidence and become insecure. And that just becomes this rinse, recycle thing. So I'm like, okay. So it kind of goes into what I believed was going to be her thing of, at middle school, she was the top of the top. There were newsletters written about her and stuff. But I think she became a fish in a larger pond once she got to high school. And she was no longer number one. And that not being able to reach that for her, it's like, what's the point of trying if I already know I can never be number one? So for her, it's like, why even try with Naoto, because I'll never be number one in his heart, so why even bother trying? I'll never be number one at this school when it comes to track, so why bother even trying? And I get that fear of like, if you actually try and you fail, it feels so much worse, because I actually put forth the effort. Why put forth the effort just to kind of fall behind? And I don't know if that's some standard her family put on her, or if she has to be number one. I don't know if we're dealing with like a Mikodono sister situation. If you've watched that series or read the manga, you have an idea, but like, that deals with like three sister siblings who were kind of meant to be like the top of their class in their fields, and it's kind of a lot of pressure they put on themselves, mainly stem from like other people, but also mainly their dad. So I'm curious if that's is it all internalized that she puts that on herself, or has other people and just like the expectations, because she grew to enjoy those expectations and the way people viewed her, and now she kept slipping and falling behind, and that tarnished that. And it's just kind of like, why even bother trying if I can never be number one? I'll never be that same person in their life, which in their eyes, which in turn has now made people kind of look at her like, oh, she was supposed to be hot stuff in middle school, but she hasn't really had any great time since being here. So that's really sad. Like I said, it's just sad to know that that's what this really stems from. And I was kind of wondering if that was the case, and just to kind of have what appears to be kind of like some clarity and some confirmation on that kind of exemplified in that moment. So, but she's going back to like the dorms or whatever, and she runs into Naoto, who drops off her clothes, and she's like frustrated by it, because she's just kind of like, he should have just left me alone. He should have never even came here. It's just kind of like, it's almost like I wanted to let you go and forget about you. But now you showing up here being so nice to me. It's like, I can't. I refuse to. So she goes to Naoto's house and runs into Suzu, who clearly sees through her like, yeah, you'll never be number one in my brother's heart. It's like, wait, you already know? It's like, yes. But for Machina, it's like, I'm not going to give up on giving up on senpai. She's also like, I'm going to end up quitting the track team, and I'm going to reevaluate. I'm starting fresh. This is going to be like the Machina 2.0. And I'm curious to see if she ends up actually straight up quitting the track team. Like, I wondered because she like specifically said like I'd have to quit the school too. So I'm like, I mean, I figured like she got to the school because of that, but like I wonder if she's going to redouble her efforts of like, okay, I just won't be on any sports team, but I can still go to the school, or whether that's her attempt to like transfer to a different school, potentially go to the same school as Naoto and them. I'm so curious to see what her process is going to be, how she plans on handling all this, which even Suzu's like, hey, I gotta give you props for your optimism. I mean, because of like the date that Suzu was like in, like her going on that zoo date or whatever with Naoto and Yukari, she picked it up then. She hasn't said anything, but I think she's trying to be more okay with her brother. It's like, right, there's obviously something there and I don't want to interfere. She saw that like Toki and like Satsuki were trying to like keep her placated while that was happening, but it's like she's becoming more. Cause I'm about to say like you don't think she's secretly being like, no, I'm number one in my brother's heart. I doubt that's the perspective she was having. Oh yeah, something else really quickly. Well, I'll finish my thought and then move on to what I was about to say. But I don't think that's the perspective she has. I think it is the recognizing Yukari of it all. But she seems a lot more okay with it. But it's going to be interesting to see how she reacts to Machina, clearly hearing how Machina plans to approach this. But the thing I was about to say is, I'm surprised the whole aunt situation didn't become, I mean, Yukari left beforehand and Suzuki made sure to leave beforehand too. So his aunt was never the wiser. I'm sure it's kind of like, well, what's the point of saying anything now? It's kind of like after the fact. They left early too, so it's like, it didn't mean anything. So probably if word got back to her or Suzu about that, that'd probably be... Because Suzu's under the impression like he went back home by himself, so... Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious if anything will come about that. But I think it's so interesting that, like, their aunt is in so little of the show. Like, we have not seen her since, like maybe two or three episodes in the earlier parts of the season, and we've not seen her since. She's been this, like... unseen presence, but that's about it. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. It's something I completely didn't think about from the beginning of the episode. But yeah, I'm really interested to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.